We're here at the Web 2.0 Summit in San Francisco. With me, I have MC Hammer, of musician fame, and also technology entrepreneurship. He just came off talking about WireDoo, an innovative new social search engine which uses data in unusual ways. Be launching later this year. Tell me more about it.
Sure. The engine is called WireDoo, and it's been a pet project between myself and my co-founders for a while. And we're always thinking about how can we solve problems, how can we improve user experiences, and the idea here was that, you know, how would we be able to improve search? What can be the improvements on search? And what came out of it was this relationship-driven searches, you know, searches that go beyond just the generalities, that give you more relative information in a consistent way in one environment. And so that's what I introduced today, and we call it WireDoo, W-I-R-E-D-O-O, which is not launched yet. We're in beta phase, and we'll probably launch at the end of this quarter, around December.
Okay, keep an eye out. So what does it do that, say, Google or you know, Bing, or certainly now we're thinking about Facebook and social search?
Sure.
What's different?
So let's say you were to enter the the zip code 90210. You would get the basic information that would return from a normal query from any of those engines, but then you would also see what we call related content. And under related content on that search, it would say the schools, homes in that area, hospitals. It'd give you all this relative information. If you were to click on schools, then all the schools would pop up in that area, but not only the schools, the API score, the teachers and their credentials, the average credentials of the parents of the students who attend that school, and then it'll say related content, and it'll say expulsions and truancies, and all these. If you were to click on the expulsions link, it would then bring you back to the number of expulsions in each school, the number of suspensions. So you get a lot of relative information. That's why we call it deep search and relationship search. It gives you back all this information, and it's beyond just the 10 blue links or a keyword.
So it sounds like you're drawing from public educational data, real estate data, geographic data, all kinds of different stores, and pulling it together?
Absolutely, absolutely. So we, the engine crawls, and the algorithm is designed in a way to get all of the related information to your query, and then package it consistently in one environment. Kind of thinking, right? The way you would think. If it's a car, okay, the first thing is it's not just about the word car, but it's about insurance, it's about the specs, it's about mileage, it's about style, it's about all these things. So that's the way it works.
So this is a pretty competitive marketplace for search, and people are wedded to this stuff. What's the plan for bringing people to this engine so that they can see it and experience it and then decide if it solves a problem for them?
Well, it certainly solves a problem because, again, generalities tend to not be the wave of the future, right? Even as we see the fight for the mobile market, and you see Android take one approach, and you see, Apple take another approach, you have to focus in because, the people's time is limited. Yeah. And so, with that being said, this search engine actually helps you with your time, right? And so, but ideally, there'll be one or two things that happen as the engine is used more and more. Peer recommended, shared, the very lifeblood of social. Other people commenting on the engine, and I use WireDoo because of. Then either we continue to let it grow on its own, or we allow it to help some others who may not be doing search on the level that they like to. And we know that there are a lot of companies out there who would like to do search better.
So speaking of time and speaking of social, you make a lot of time to be social online. You were there early. You were there early with Twitter. You've been talking about using YouTube since early on. You've created a direct link between you and a whole lot of fans, of which I will readily admit I was one.
Well, thank you.
Big time.
Thank you.
So, well, still am. But now
Appreciate
you're talking about being a tech entrepreneur, not a musician, even though that's still part of your life.
But they go hand in hand.
Yeah, well, it's the full you, right?
Right, right, absolutely.
So what perspective have you gained from how that's changed, and now how it's really changing the way that media and enterprise and business works online?
Well, first and foremost, creativity, whether it be engineering or melody, it comes from the same side of the brain. Not to misquote, but one of the quotes of the late, great Steve Jobs is that what made Apple great is not that it was just the engineers, but the engineers also happened to be musicians. And so they built and designed from a musician standpoint. And so that says it all. Musicians who happen to be engineers or who happen to be tech savvy and tech lovers, they are still tapping into the same aspect of the brain. And so when I saw the social tools as they began to emerge, whether it be around video, whether it be around community, i.e. Initially way back to the days of MySpace and then on into Facebook and others, as I saw that, I saw a real opportunity to engage and connect and remove the velvet rope between the musician and his fans who are really friends and like extended family.
So last question, and I guess this is kind of a serious one. I write about technology and government and society and whether the potential for that intersection can change the way the government works, can change the way the business works. When I look at the different populations using social, I see a much higher bump in minority populations. Like there's something happening on Twitter all the time there.
Right.
And so I'm wondering, where's the disconnect between that conversation and the conversation around making towns and communities better? And how could that be bridged?
Well, that is a fantastic question and also a brilliant observation because many don't notice that.
I see it all the time. It's important.
I actually relate that information to a lot of my constituents. I say, I don't know if you notice, but trending topics are driven by, 70% of the time it looks like by, the African American community or the hip hop community. And that's very interesting, right? And there's a lot there. And then for you to say, how do we take that and use that to improve communities, right? So we know that regime change happened with the mobile platforms. We know that right now the occupiers and the occupying movement is happening as a result of being able to mobilize through these platforms. So the same thing is true also in the inner city communities at large. Utilize, no matter what the issues are, policy, local government, the job markets, expressing frustrations, utilize these platforms to sound the alarm, to create the awareness, and then you can also use the same platforms to crowdsource for answers. So that's how these tools can be used to help. The most important aspect is there is engagement, right? And that you're seeing the minority audience be extremely active on these platforms, and they're there.
Do you think that local and city governments are doing any kind of good job engaging the minority populations there? Any advice for them?
I wouldn't limit it to minority population because of the simple fact that local governments aren't doing, they're not good at engaging the public at large, right? So they're still finding their feet with respect to using these platforms and dropping their guards and stop being afraid of the social media. Because remember, it creates, these tools create a level of transparency that sometimes can be uncomfortable, right? You no longer dictate the corporate message to the community, but the community speaks back and they voice their opinion. So if we can get them to there's a platform coming up real shortly called Votizen. And it's going to be very interesting as it relates to politics. And if you get a chance, Jason Pertorti, you should definitely talk to him, interview him, and you'll see that new platform rolling out really, in the fourth quarter, around election time, and it will also be very helpful with the community at large, learning to